Hello and welcome to the Morning Skate Podcast. I am Matt Moody, joined by DJ Mitchell and a special guest to discuss the Thursday, February 22nd NHL Daily Fantasy Slate. DJ, how are you? Would you like to introduce our guest?
Yeah, so we have the infamous Jimmy Burke here. I think probably our first winner above our first 10K winner at least, the first to take down a mega slate. He's been with the podcast probably since near the inception, if not the inception, and probably our most active group me member. So it's good to have you, Jimmy. How's it going?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it only took about an hour to get you on.
Yeah, I'm like the non-techiest person ever.
I Google Hangouts. I can see sometimes because Matt doesn't get any of these issues, but sometimes I'll join and it'll be like you're not in Matt's circle, and I'm like, we only podcast every other day, but sure, I'm not in his circle, I guess. And then I have to reboot it and get back into it. So I guess it can be confusing.
That's what it did to me earlier.
Yeah, I don't know why it does that, but whatever. So do you just want to get right into the questions before we break down the slate?
Let's have it.
All right, so we're gonna do the same questions as we did with Will. Probably we'll do them every time the same, unless if I feel like changing them up. So where are you from, and then what's your favorite NHL team?
I am from Kansas City, and my favorite NHL team is Boston Bruins.
How does that work?
Yes, how does that happen?
Yeah, that when I was younger, I used to play roller hockey with one of my friends in his basement. And that was when I started watching hockey, and they had Adam Oates, Ray Borg, Cam Neely. So I fell in love with the Boston Bruins because they were good.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, the opposite for us is true. Actually, they were good when we were kids, Sabres, but now they're not. Number two. So what got you into playing daily fantasy sports, and how long have you been playing NHL?
I have been playing DraftKings for about 7 years. I got into it kind of like about 12 years ago when the whole poker thing was going on online. I was playing that a lot in college, and then after I got out of college, that started falling, and got a real job, and didn't have time to play till 3 a.m. So I got into sports betting, and I wasn't very good at that, so I stopped doing that. And then, believe it or not, I got into horse racing, and actually,
jockeying or betting,
like betting on horses.
Okay.
No, I thought he was racing the horses for sure.
Yeah,
I definitely thought that too, and I'm like, oh.
So I did that for a while, and I got pretty good at it, and then I basically had to stop because I have 2 kids, and then I coach soccer on the weekends, so all the races are on the weekends, pretty much the big races. So I was like, well, let me try something new. And so I tried DraftKings, and won my first night I ever played. I won an NBA. I took down an NBA slate. It was like I won like $500, and I was hooked.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's like what happened to me with like $50 in MLB, and I was like, "What? This is easy. You just pick players that automatically hit home runs." And then I realized that I am not Max Delory or whatever his name is now.
Yeah,
Zahid.
It takes a while to get it down. I thought the same thing. I was like, "Oh, this is easy. First night, boom."
All those commercials were right. You win every night. Okay. Next one is obviously, besides winning this Morning Skate Podcast Listener League, the biggest reward anyone can get in the daily fantasy industry. What is your biggest win, and then what was your most tilting loss?
My biggest win, obviously, I've had some pretty big wins actually. But biggest single win was the $10,000 on NHL. That was the day before Thanksgiving this year. I believe it was a Minnesota 2 and a Vegas 1 stack that won it for me. And then biggest tilt or biggest loss. I mean, I lose sometimes two to $300 a night. So
no close calls that were just right there, then fell off at the last second. Maybe not hockey related, but I know like baseball and some other sports that's a bit more prevalent.
Yeah, I finished.
You know, you're dabbling all the sports.
Yeah, I'd probably say last year NASCAR. The $4 wasn't a very good tournament, so I said, hey, I'll try the 8, and I ended up finishing second, and I was like, man, why have I not been playing the 8? I split with someone. I instead of winning like $15,000 for second, I only got like 7.
That doesn't sound that tilting at all.
Yeah, I mean, that's my worst loss.
My worst night, I only got second place.
Well, I mean, it's tilting. You know how it is.
I hear you.
Be tilted too.
I just assumed when you said NASCAR that it was like, yeah, I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then the 40th car was, trying to not get past and wrecked everyone, and I finished in last or something.
Yeah, right.
That was how Daytona looked this week. But
that happens all the time. So
yeah. He made a right hand turn when he meant to make a left. There's a pass on there. All right. So how the hell did you find this podcast? Did it just random, or did someone show you?
Someone got let me onto it back in the day. Let's see, it was about 2 years ago when I got into GroupMe and I started listening to you guys. I was on RG, if you know what that is.
Yeah, of course.
And someone in the chat, I got close with like Bobby Boom and Roland Nolan was in there. Boomer. And had one other guy. Anyways, we used to talk hockey all the time, and they were like, "Here, try this podcast. It's really good podcast." So I started listening to you guys, and then I was hooked.
Yeah.
That's what normally happens.
Yeah.
Every podcast.
I think we should like hire Bobby Boom to be our marketer or something, because he does a great job of it.
He is like the names he comes up with for some of these players. I laugh every night.
Dude, I'm like, he goes to bed dreaming of numbers and names.
What's this guy's number? Everyone. All right. Anyways, though, shout out to the GroupMe, all you guys. Who's gonna be next? Actually, while we're on this, here's a new one. Who's gonna be the next winner, Jimmy?
Oh man, if you two don't count,
I don't think I have a single win this month.
I think I have one.
To tell you the truth, I haven't even looked at it. I've been playing in it, but I haven't looked at it.
Yeah, that's a later time problem.
My sister finished right middle of the pack, and she played Mike Fisher. So, last night was not a banner night for myself personally, but that was funny because she had a pretty decent team and also played Mike Fisher just because it was free.
I'll shout out Corey. I think Corey and me tied, so I think he's next.
All right, perfect. I can dig that.
Last question before we get to the slate is anything you just want to share about yourself or anything
Twitter,
you want to
maybe?
Yeah, Twitter, self-promotion, anything?
Not really. I mean, you can follow me, Striker11JB1 on Twitter. That's pretty much it.
All right, so why don't we dive into the slate? We have 11 games. We have a 6.5 over/under and a few 6 over/unders already. Before all the lines are out, the first one, the 6.5 over/under, is the New York Islanders at Toronto. If it has the Islanders, it's over 6. Minnesota at New Jersey, Columbus at Philly, the Rangers at Montreal, Tampa Bay at Ottawa, Buffalo at Detroit in a snooze fest. We have Washington at Florida, San Jose at Nashville, Colorado at Edmonton, the Calgary Flames against Arizona. So that's the Mike Smith narrative. I think he might be out though. No, he's day-to-day, but we'll see. And then Dallas at Los Angeles. So why don't we start with the first game? Matt, I'll kick it to you first. Any initial thoughts on the 6.5 over/under?
Yeah, shocking. Toronto Islanders. I feel like we just played this game yesterday with the Florida-Toronto game. That was, it was a great game to watch because it was a tight game. It was wide open. Like 1-0 did not, reflect that game at all. So in that sense, I certainly don't hate this game, but at the same time, I feel like the Islanders and Toronto are two of the teams where, their first lines are immensely stackable, but they're also not, Matthews Nylander isn't great value anymore. Tavares and his line mates are always pretty darn expensive. I mean, Lee and Bailey have kind of come back to earth a little bit. So, Jimmy, any thoughts on the Islanders side in particular, kind of hitting Toronto on the rebound after a shutout from Anderson last game?
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying it for the last week or so. There's been a lot of goalies getting 40, 50 save shutouts, and I'm just gonna keep attacking them. Like if you take, for instance, the last slate, I think it was, I believe that Halak ended up being 35% owned, and
Oh yeah.
I mean that just doesn't seem smart.
Yeah, I refuse to play Islanders goalies. I will never do it. I don't care who's in that there. Like it's just not happening. But I feel like this game is gonna be really hard to figure out who to pick from it, especially on the Toronto side again. I feel if you get away from that Matthews, Nylander, Hyman unit, like I don't know what you're gonna do because it doesn't really feel like anyone's getting the minutes. If you want to ride Kadri Marner like that, they've been good as of late, but they're really expensive now. And then on the Islanders side, I think we mentioned this last podcast, but they're back to Tavares, Lee, Bailey on the top unit, Pavillier, Barzell, and Eberle. So kind of the normal lines there. And I don't really know where I'm going to go in this game. I think Zach Hyman's probably the best value out of the game. But other than that, like I think he might get piled on too. So
Do you think Kadri takes New York Islanders 1?
I honestly don't know because both of these teams just roll 4 lines. Like they don't really. I don't know what they're going to do about it. Like I don't think they're really going to even try that. Matt, what do you think? You kind of have better ideas on this stuff than me.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that big a deal to me in general. I think that Matthews and Kadri and then like Tavares and Barzell are like not. I don't think either of those lines are like worth targeting. Given, let's say if you're not going to play them, you're not going to be swayed one way or the other because they're on Matthews or Kadri or vice versa. Just because I don't think there's that much difference in their overall play level. So I'm more looking at the value here, and I think the value might actually come from that first line. I did not realize that Josh Bailey and Anders Lee have both fallen by like 1,000 over the past week, essentially. So with that line put back together, it might be a little bit popular, but I don't think we're looking at like the crazy game logs that some of these guys on the slate have. So they might go a little bit under the radar, but I certainly would not like bet on them being like extremely loaned or anything. But I like the value in general for that first line of the Islanders.
I like that you said that because that's why I kind of asked if you thought the Kadri line was gonna take them because Kadri line has been actually giving it up lately. So
yeah, I mean, even last year the Matthews line was better, like defensively, than the Kadri unit. So I don't know how much of that was Komarov being there versus Marner. Like Kadri was kind of surrounded by bad players, and Matthews is generational, so that could have something to do with it. But
in their last matchup, it was the Islanders at Toronto, so Toronto kind of got the preference of who they matched, and they used Marner, Kadri, Marleau. It looks like the most against the Tavares line, but they definitely spread it out a bit. There's definitely some correlation between the Matthews line as well, and most of the time Gardner and Zaistev were against them. So it doesn't look like there's almost no time with the JVR Bozak Brown line against Tavares. So maybe they did try their best to keep that unit away from them because maybe they're a little bit weaker defensively, but that was from January 31st was their last meeting. So a little less than a month ago. But that's what we looked at there. Is there anything else from this game we want to touch on? Any defensemen, or are we ready to move on?
Pulock's fine, 4.1. I think that's D against Toronto is a thing.
The Shaswa's blocks are really good as of late.
Yeah, that too. Like he's just I think he's a solid value, but nothing too crazy.
Okay, yeah. I'm not touching any Toronto defensemen, in case you're wondering.
Yeah, I think that you're right on that. I just looked at these prices, and Lee and Bailey are very cheap. And,
yeah, right.
And Toronto is a minus 200 favorite. So I think New York Islanders 1 could be kind of lower owned.
It's amazing how fast they drop because I remember seeing Bailey under. Yeah, it was the last slate. What was it? Would have been Sunday maybe. Monday. It was Monday. Yeah, I remember I didn't end up playing it, but I remember I'm like, wow, he's just under, like he's 5'7", but he's even got cheaper in a better matchup. So yeah, I'm considering it, but we can probably move on to Minnesota and New Jersey, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm certainly ready.
You gotta get for that USA Canada game later. So let's move on. So we have Parise was up on the top line, but no, he split time between 2 lines. Didn't he start the game with Niederreiter and Stahl? Is that what we're expecting?
Yeah, he did. He did
But then he
start.
switched to
Yeah,
Koivu Granlund.
yeah.
So I don't really know there, but yeah, Parise was. I mean, like I definitely got him that 700 price boo. But what do you think about Minnesota in this matchup?
You love that Zach Parise.
Dude, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. So New Jersey's been a team that has been playing some pretty up-tempo hockey. Not necessarily all season, but especially as of late. Like Taylor Hall's just been so good, and they're not that great defensively. So it's kind of been like game stacks all around for New Jersey. I'm not seeing that here. I don't trust Minnesota enough on a big slate the way they've been playing to generate any sort of offense that makes them worthwhile. We're looking at guys like Granlund, above 6,000. I think that's just a bit much. So I'm probably just interested maybe in someone like Matt Dumba if he plays alongside Suter again. But even then, he's pretty priced up there to the point where I think it's tough to, rationalize playing a guy like Dumba, I think, even if he's a fine play.
Yeah. Jimmy, any thoughts?
No, I pretty much agree. I think that Minnesota is. I mean, I've been playing them, and you're right. It's hard to trust their lines. If they're gonna roll out those lines, and you can trust it, then I think they would be a decent play. But I don't trust them right now.
No, yeah. they get thrown in the blender too much for me.
No, I totally agree. They definitely mix up line. I'm not that interested in this game. I don't know. I really was targeting New Jersey a lot, and it just hasn't paid off, which may be like clouding my judgment here. But I'm not really looking at either side too strongly. I feel like this game will be a bit more contrarian only. I would lean towards probably looking at Parise, Koivu, or Parise, Granlund potentially. I'm going to give it a look tomorrow, but it's pretty pricey.
I could see Zaka as a one-off. I've been using him as a one-off. He's 3,300.
Yeah, that's the one guy I was going to mention. It kind of sucks that he's not getting that first power play time anymore. But that kind of leads me into the second point I wanted to make on Kyle Palmieri. He's been like really up there in the sim. Even like my Fantasy Labs model loves Kyle Palmieri. And that's due to his historically really strong shot rate numbers. As of late, playing alongside Taylor Hall, those numbers have really cratered. Maybe it's just a factor of Palmieri hasn't played a whole lot alongside someone like Taylor Hall. So, he was kind of the shot user, and now that's Taylor Hall. But, I think, I was looking at reasons last slate to kind of like tell myself that the sim wasn't, spot on with Palmieri as like the top projected value winger. And I noticed that like since December 1st, he has like a bottom 50% shot rate in the NHL, like of all players. So it's not that rosy an outlook for Palmieri, in my opinion. So that's kind of a guy who I've been riding, who when you dig in a little bit more, I think the historical numbers give him a little bit too much credit. Anything else from this game before we head to Columbus at Philly?
I was going to say, I do like Dumba as well. But other than that, I'm ready to move on.
Nice.
Jimmy, anything, or Columbus, Philly?
We're good.
All right, so Columbus, Philly. I mean, I didn't see any big news, right? But who now? So it's Patrick Voracek wheel, and Simmons is out for 2 weeks, correct? Like that's 2 weeks, like minimum, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, so last game we had Patrick Voracek and Jordan Wheel. I actually ended up playing Wheel, which was pretty not optimal. Patrick was the move. He played on that top power play unit. I mean, I had them stacked together. Oh my God, Nolan Patrick. Right? Wait, is that right? What's his first name?
Nolan. Yeah.
Nolan. Oh, I was right. Okay, Nolan Patrick. What do you think of him off the top? That was the first guy I wanted to talk about. 4,200.
I like it. I dig it. He's not priced to the point where I think it's unreasonable to play him, even if he's only projectable for 15 minutes. Voracek scored a late goal and also the OT winner on Tuesday, so maybe that line gets a little bit more work. So yeah, I mean, I think Patrick's a pretty strong play even without the minutes, just because he's priced so low on such a dynamic Philly first power play that it makes the price a little bit more stomachable.
Okay, so that's a good value. Obviously, the top line for Philly is super expensive. What about the ultimate super super duper value. Matt, do you know where I'm going with this?
Are you
Oscar.
going back to the? Oh, Oscar's son, or
No,
no,
Lindbaum.
Lindbaum, yeah.
Lindbaum.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
Jimmy, have you heard of Oscar Lindbaum before? Just wondering.
No.
Okay, so Oscar Lindbaum led the SHL, the Swedish Hockey League, in goals, or was it points? Was it points?
Points, I believe.
Points last year. He's 21 years old. I really don't know how we could project him as like a DFS asset, but he obviously has a ton of skill. He played 15 minutes last game. I considered him because he's 2,500, but I did end up playing him. What do you think on this slate against Columbus, who's definitely been giving up some decent Corsi as they play a decently up-tempo game? We're talking about a line 3 guy here that got power play 2 last game, and like I said, 15 minutes. So what are our thoughts on him?
So I'll throw my hat in the ring. I think I like what I saw out of him, given that he played 15 minutes and power play 2 time on Tuesday. I was reading a little bit about him, and he kind of had comparisons to Wayne Simmons from like the Philly beat writers. Some of it could have just been that the situation had him replacing Simmons, but he seems to be like a net front guy, ready to bang in some rebounds and things like that. I do find it interesting that, you mentioned Jordan Wheel had an off game on Tuesday, or at least wasn't overly productive. I didn't verify that for myself, but there's certainly a job there in the top 6 wide open. And given that he's only 21, given that he has the really strong historical numbers, like you said, he led the SHL in scoring last season as a 20-year-old. I think he's a very fine punt at 2.5, and I don't think anyone knows about him yet. He's not like a big name in the prospect community or anything, as far as I can tell.
Well, when they play overseas, I feel like people forget about him. But yeah, so I think if he ends up, especially if he ends up getting any sort of a bump at all, in like he's gonna play more minutes or like anything from the coach, like he could be a really, really nice smash play. Other than that, Jimmy, any thoughts on the game overall on the Philly side, or do you want to go maybe you think on Columbus? Wow, let me get my words out.
Well, I was looking at the last 20 games for Columbus. Their Corsi 460. What is it? 60. It's pretty high.
Yeah.
But I did like the Patrick call. I mean, I like I think that would be a cool little stack to run. You could run Patrick, Voracek, and Gostisbehere. I think that would be a pretty good little stack.
Nice, yeah.
Definitely.
I think that's
going to be. I think that might be somewhat popular tomorrow. Matt, do you think it'll be at all popular against Columbus? Because I mean, I think people might end up looking. I think this game is stackable in a GPP.
Yeah, I was surprised that Philly was a little bit higher owned than I expected on Tuesday's slate. So you could see a bit more ownership, but I don't think it'll be. I think with 11 games, all ownership concerns should almost be out the window here.
What you guys have any? You guys have any thoughts on Columbus, their top line for like the power play kind of thing?
So I kind of lucked into the Jenner play on Tuesday. I thought it was either going to be him or Pierre-Luc Dubois taking that first power play role. It ended up being Dubois, but I played Jenner just because, one, we didn't know, and two, Jenner was like really cheap. So I don't know that I love Pierre-Luc Dubois, against this Philly team that I think, they've been playing really well as of late. They're not the same team that lost 10 games in a row earlier this season. Like, they're actually, performing, and they have the strong underlying numbers to kind of back that up, especially with their top pairing of Provorov and Gostisbehere. They've just been killing it. So I'm kind of shying away from this top line in Columbus for sure.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. So are you going to go back to the Bjorkstrand Jenner well?
I don't think so. Just a road matchup, like it strikes me as a little bit thin, even though my 10-game model loves the Blue Jackets, but I think that's a factor of just how much they beat up on the Maple Leafs a couple games ago, and Freddie Anderson just bailed the crap out of the Leafs.
Yeah, so I can see that. I mean, I'm fine with not going too heavy on Columbus, but if you were going to get one piece of Columbus, who'd you nab?
I guess Panarin. I mean, I think that's kind of not obvious, but I think that's like the top dollar for dollar play, just because he is pretty cheap at 6,000 given his talent level. But it's not someone who I see myself rostering.
All right, anything from you, Jimmy, on this game, or you want to move on to the Rangers at Montreal?
Yeah, we can move on.
All right, so the Rangers have given up. Their defense is a lot of guys I've never heard of. We don't know what they're probably going to run next game, right? At this point, it's probably like a who knows, because they traded Nick Holden.
They could trade literally anybody tomorrow, and would not be surprised.
They haven't played since Sunday, right? Or was it Monday?
Yeah, Sunday. You're right.
Whatever day it was. But boy, their defense is bad. It's really, really bad, and Montreal's really, really cheap. So, are we at all interested in this Montreal side? Why don't we start there for this game, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, Pacioretty sub 6,000. He's been terrible, but if this isn't a good get right spot, I don't know what is. So I think he's worth a look for sure. Brendan Gallagher's been productive. He's priced to the point where I don't know how much I trust it, but I think I would prefer Pacioretty, even despite the strong game logs in Gallagher's favor. But is this one of those games where both teams are just not good? Like, I think we can pretty much say like Montreal is not a good team despite their pretty strong underlying numbers, like expected goals wise. Like, they're just not a good team. The Rangers are not a good team. It's just kind of a game where the Stars tend to mail it in, and it's kind of just like, get through the game and get to the trade deadline and see what happens kind of thing. I don't know. It's kind of lifeless to me.
You got any more narratives you want to throw in on this? How about you, Jimmy? Any thoughts on this game?
I think it would be like a one-off for a value, just a cheap value guy in this game.
Anyone like reaching out and touching you?
Maybe like
Sweet Caroline.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of looking at that third line a little bit. Maybe like a Galchenyuk or Hudon or something like that. They're gonna see New York Rangers depth, which they don't have any.
That's true.
Yeah, I like basically Lekin and Hudon, and was there one other guy I liked in this game? Let me go Galchenyuk maybe. I feel like he's almost too expensive. Like, I don't know. I just don't know what they're doing with Alex Galchenyuk because I feel like he's way better than they use him, but whatever. Yeah, Lekin and Hudon.
Just value here.
Okay, I'm fine with that. What about any of these Rangers defensemen who are super duper cheap that get massive roles? Just no.
It just feels like such a reach. The thing is, I think there's an 11-game slate. There's so many spots to, get guys that are strong values without completely punting with players that you've literally never heard of. That I just don't see it as a viable strategy to just jam in all the studs and then play literal no names. Like, I think going with some guys who have some clout, like we mentioned Lindblom, I think that's fine and a bit less of a stretch than going like, hey, you 27-year-old AHL defenseman who's never made the NHL before, get me fantasy points. Like, I don't know. I don't trust it.
I mean, I at least say like, please. Okay, so I'm fine with moving on from this game. It's probably what was the Vegas? I probably have it up actually. Oh, it's not out there yet, so there's no line for it. I bet it'll be a bit lower. What's Carey Price? Yeah, Carey Price is. Oh, he's day to day. Hold on. The Rangers, I guess, are starting the goalie Alexander Georgiev. I remember mentioning it before, so I guess if you want to see what he can do in that, go right ahead. Okay, moving on.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Okay. Tampa Bay at Ottawa. I really feel like Tampa Bay will be piled on. I might go back to the Kucherov but he is 8K now. You might have to get some.
What's the difference? He's been 8K for the last.
You know what, Matt?
Season and a half, right?
In marketing, there's a thing called the rule of nines, and everything with a 9 next to it instead of like the next number up feels incredibly cheaper. So 7-9. I mean, he's a great value. 8K. I mean, you can't touch him.
You just wrote the book on why Nikita Kucherov is a must play here. Then
no, I really think I'm gonna have him. Like I'm making a joke there, but like he's probably my play.
So yeah, some of this could potentially be like the false narrative that Washington's like a really strong defensive team still, because they're not anymore. But I thought that Kucherov line was going to be just stacked through the nose on Tuesday's 9-game slate, I believe it was.
Yeah.
And they were like 15%. Kucherov was 15, Point was 10, and Killorn was 10. Add that to the fact that they rolled 11 forwards, so Kucherov was like double shifting. You'll see he only played 17 minutes, but they were literally protecting a lead the entire game. So it was kind of like a roll 4 lines thing, a bit more so than say the other night against New Jersey where he played 21 minutes. I'm not saying that Tampa's not going to just just kill a back-to-back Ottawa team and do the same sort of thing, but I just see no reason to not consider Nikita Kucherov the top play on the slate personally. Like it just seems like such a slam dunk to me.
Yeah.
Jimmy, I totally agree. I think what's happening too is you still see people jamming in Stamkos, Kucherov, and Hedman together, and they don't play the line that is formed. They're not like Point, like you said, Point, Killorn. They weren't that high owned, and I think people don't really know. They're not big names, is what I'm trying to get at. So they keep jamming in the big 3, and then they're missing out on the value.
Right, for sure. I mean, Point 6,000 it's a bit high, but also, I mean, he's been so productive. He's not playing on the first power play, but he's killing penalties. He's out there for the second power play. He's out there, 6-on-5 situations as well. So it's not something that really concerns me, given the just direct 5-on-5 exposure to Kucherov. And then Killorn, first power play, first line. 5,000 is honestly, I think, a bit. It's a bit we have to consider it because he's not a great fantasy build. He's not going to shoot the puck a ton, so he's very much an upside only type play. Like I don't think you can play him in cash games to get exposure to Kucherov by any means, just because it's not the way Killorn really has profiled his entire career. But as an addition to a stack, it's just a great way to knock off some of that average value on Kucherov and unlock some massive upside. So I really like that first line.
And I think you can be different too if you put Hedman with them instead of. I see a lot of people putting Sergachev with them.
Ooh.
Yeah, DJ, what did you say Sergachev played the other night?
10 total minutes, power play 2.
Yeah. So I would put Hedman with them and call it good.
Yeah. Remember when people were like, Sergachev's so good? Like clearly Montreal won that. I mean, Montreal lost that trade, and I'm like. Honestly, like, can we like see what these guys do over a couple of years? Like,
he had an on-ice shooting percentage of like 19%.
It's crazy. Yeah, I mean,
everything was going in.
Everything was going in. No, I'm still think like Sergachev's going to turn into like a great defense, like maybe not great, but like a really good defenseman. So I'm not trying to like take a dump on him, but okay. Is there anything from Ottawa in this game that anyone's considering at all?
No.
Fair. Okay, Jimmy. Anything? Anything on the boys? I mean,
No.
Peugeot was on their top power play.
So
if he wants the punt of the wait, Jimmy, were you listening to the podcast when we made my first ever guaranteed goal calls?
I don't know.
I called John Gabriel Peugeot and he scored.
No, I don't think I was on that one.
Okay, because the next podcast, I was so excited. Okay, we can move on now to the next game. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to the one after that.
Buffalo at Detroit, and we're done.
And okay, I would say from this game, the only thing worth giving a look at would be O'Reilly and Kane.
They're so expensive.
They're not. I mean, yeah, they are expensive, but I mean, like that's all of Buffalo's offense. And
you can't.
You can do it. Okay, you're saying to me right now that Point is a substantially better play than O'Reilly.
Absolutely.
In the vacuum, but you're basing that off of Kucherov, aren't you? Like, let's just say like one off. You're playing one player.
Are we playing? What is this, like a 1-on-1 on like NBA 2K or something?
Yeah.
Like what?
No, I am just saying like if you were playing DraftKings and you had one spot available and you didn't have any Tampa Bay or any Buffalo, who would you take, O'Reilly or would you take Point?
Point.
Absolutely, Braden Point.
Oh my God, I'm telling you right now, like O'Reilly's not a bad play.
No, he's not a bad player, but
Point, so expensive.
No, I'm just saying, like, I'm thinking a play tomorrow. Like I don't think it's bad.
No, Point has better upside.
There's a 100% chance I totally fade this game. But I just wanted to put my name out there for O'Reilly when he has a hat trick.
Oh yeah, don't worry, DJ's got everybody here, guys. So just
wait, what? There's a 100% chance I don't play anyone from this game.
If your player does well tonight, DJ called him, so don't worry, guys.
I think I did. Also, I'm pretty sure let me try this again because it looks to me like the Detroit page for their last game on HockeyViz is just broken.
Yeah, because they played 13 forwards, I believe.
Yeah, but it's like it's
well,
really
no, that was two or three games ago.
No, they played 13 forwards again. They went 13-5.
Oh yeah, they did.
But it's all messed up because of it. Okay, so ignoring that, is there anyone from this game like just before we move on? Because I really don't care to talk about this.
No, I wouldn't mind Athanasiou 4,600. That's not that bad.
It's not too bad. I'm fine with that take.
Yeah, 17 minutes, 19 minutes, last two games. Yeah. It just evaporates so quickly with him. Like you literally never know when he's gonna just be on the bench and they're going 13-5. If they really continue to do that, that just seems
very unoptimal. That seems like a very bad plan.
Seems like a bad daily fantasy kind of move.
No, I'm not gonna play anyone from this game, but I do agree. Like, keep an eye on that price because Athanasiou is like actually good.
Yeah, I love that guy.
Okay, so why don't we go to Washington at Florida, a game that's a bit more fun. Ovechkin's been doing Ovechkin type things as of late with a 9-shot on goal and a goal game. I think that's where we would start in this game. I think him and Kucherov are obviously the top two players on the slate. Matt, I'll send it to you first. What are your thoughts on the Washington side?
I like Alex Ovechkin. He's pretty good at scoring goals. I don't really have much interest in Washington as a team, though. I mean, it's just been tough to find guys who are producing at a steady clip outside of Ovi. John Carlson's been incredible this year, but I don't think he's been good enough to warrant a 6,500 price tag, especially on a slate where guys like Yossi and Gostisbehere and just everyone around that price range, I think, is a better play than Carlson. So I'm not really that interested in stacking this game. So Ovi is the ultimate one-off play because he creates so much offense, or he uses so much of it for himself that, if he has a hat trick, Nick Backstrom might not even meet value. Like it's kind of one of those things where Ovi is so good and can do it with a number of different players, given that he plays first power play, second power play, 5-on-5, like everything. So really, Ovi's the only guy in Washington I'm looking at. But I think the Florida side's a bit more interesting.
Jimmy, any thoughts on the Washington side before we send it over? Or are you on board?
Yeah, I'm pretty much on the same thing. I think it's Ovi or bust on them.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, the second line for Washington is like somewhat cheap, but I don't trust it right now. But Oshie and Kuznetsov are a decent value, maybe. Like I think it's an okay play, but I don't think I'll end up having it.
I mean, the only thing I could see myself doing is maybe Ovi Wilson, just to drop Ovi's price, and that would be about it.
Yeah, I think I like Lindbaum more. We wanted to go for a value.
Yeah,
I have
cheap at this point. They're not. It's not really an apples to apples comparison either.
No, I know. I just don't. I've never played Tom Wilson, and I never will. I feel like. And did he have a 3-point night recently? Sure. I still won't play him. But that's fine. I don't hate anything with Ovi because anyone with Ovi is just substantially better. I just feel like Oshie at 5K on that first power play, getting like 19 minutes is like a really decent play, but he just hasn't been actually producing.
Yeah, what happened? I think he died or something. What happened to him?
Basically, the Killorn of the Capitals.
Yeah.
Like that's what he does. He's out there in a lot of key situations, but he's just not a guy who's going to block shots, who's going to take a lot of shots. And, he's not an offensive dynamo by any means. So it's just kind of like you hope stuff hits him and goes in or that he gets lucky on a rush.
And Kuznetsov at 5.5. I mean, unless if he ends up playing with Ovechkin, I don't know. It's there, but I feel like I'd rather try to get up to point for 500 more to stack with Kucherov rather than, you know what I'm saying? I think that all makes sense.
The crazy thing is you're saying you're more interested. Matt was saying he's more interested in Florida, and Washington's the favorite.
Oh, yeah, it's almost not a thing where I think Florida's going to win. It's just that whenever Florida does well, it's always those few guys for them. Like they are so condensed around the Barkov Trocheck duo, and centers, are so hard to find great floors on. Like McDavid's going to have his random 8 shot and hat trick night, like because he's McDavid. But like in general, it's really tough to find mid-tier centers or upper mid-tier centers that are going to give you like 5-6 shot plus block upside, and those two are two of the premier guys in the NHL at doing that. Let's see, just looking at the last 10 games for Trocheck, he's averaging over 4 per game. Same thing with Barkov. We've seen Trocheck as high as like 60 combined over the past 10 games, maybe a month ago or so. So they're just such high floor guys with great upside. And when they're in decent offensive matchups, I just love playing them because they're safe, they have upside, and they're going to get all the ice time they can handle.
Yeah, and their prices too. I just looked at their prices. Yeah. Wow, that's actually Wow.
Look at that move too. He's fallen.
Yeah, I could see doing a Barkov, Trocheck, Dadonov stack with a Yandel or something like that. Wow, Yandel's only 49.
I have
Yandel. He's been so good.
I have this stack like every night, and it's going to hit. I know it's going to hit. It's going to hit so big. All of the money's going to come in because it's doing everything it needs to do to be a big, massive smash GPP type of lineup. I mean,
I like that. I like that. Keep doing it.
Yeah, right. Thank you. All right. No, I feel good about myself. Okay, so is there anything we want to mention about those guys, or are we just saying like that stack is good?
They're the plays.
Okay, it's pretty simple there.
Yeah, Mulligan's been really good. I think you can get away with playing him with Trocheck. It's sort of like you hope Mulligan gets a point if Trocheck smashes. Obviously, the first power play is where you want to be, but Mulligan's a really good player, so I think he's fine for 3.9.
Yeah. Evgeny Malkin's pretty good. I'm sorry. I had to make the joke. The first time you said it, I really thought you said Malkin, and I was like, all right, yeah. Is it Malgin?
Yeah.
I mean, you're like Malgin.
I was listening to the Florida broadcast, and they were saying Malgin. So
really,
I think so.
All right. You know what? I'll take my word for it over theirs. Jimmy, anything before we close out of this game?
No, I think we nailed it. I mean, you could do the Barkov, Trocheck, Dadonov, I can't say his name, and then run it back with Ovi. That could be interesting.
Word. I'm done with that. I honestly think that game is somewhat stackable. Okay, so why don't we get over to San Jose and Nashville, the Burns game of the night. Matt, I'll send it to you first. Any initial thoughts on this one?
San Jose's just in that stretch where they're playing really strong teams. I mean, they just played St. Louis. Now they're going to play Nashville. It certainly makes sense given the way Burns has been injured lately as well. Like, I think you can really just get away with fading him and not feel too bad about it. I don't know what the issue is, but it definitely seemed to be hampering him a little bit. Only playing 20 minutes on Tuesday in a really tightly contested game, I think that's a bit strange. So I think you can fade Burns. I'm not interested in any of the other pieces in this game, personally.
Yeah, I feel like all the pieces I'm interested in are just too expensive for what they might output.
Roman Josi's awesome. I think he's the Brent Burns of the slate. Like, you can definitely play him as a one-off.
Don't use that name like that. You don't just throw around Brent Burns like he's whatever, Matt. That's insane. Jimmy, any thoughts on this game?
No, totally agree. I've been using Josi a lot more than Subban lately. And before I was using Subban a lot more, and Josi's been going crazy.
He likes to shoot the puck, and he's really good at hockey. So those two things together, I mean, I think it's a good play. I think he's definitely affordable on this slate because I do think we've mentioned some very good value. And yeah, I do agree. I'd probably go with some of this Nashville side. Like, I wouldn't hate the idea of playing Forsberg, but I'm not in love with it. But it does feel like they're really rolling 4 lines now. Yeah. Wait, hold on. Now that I'm looking at it, Matt, didn't what's his name? Mike Fisher not even play?
No, he's not even playing. He's gonna play at the beginning of March.
Okay, I was very confused. When you said that, I was like, I really feel like I would have heard if he played. And
I would have informed you, and I probably would have played it myself because
Oh, good lord.
I kind
Personal
of
thing, guys.
think that both the Nashville lines are in play with their prices.
Yeah, I mean they're fine. It's like I just don't think I'm gonna play it because I really want to try to get some Ovechkin and Kucherov. So like, there's no way I can also get Forsberg Arvidsson.
Yeah, that
And,
makes.
I mean,
that
at
makes
least the Nashville 2 line is coming down in price. The Smith Fiala Torres, like it's continuously dropping because they're not getting as many minutes and stuff. But that's why it's dropping because last game they actually played like fourth line minutes.
Yeah.
Which I don't understand. I guess they're like, well, Detroit's bad enough. Like, well, I don't know what that was. Like, they played 4 5 minutes though, and
Yeah,
whatever.
and the kind of another major issue I have with Nashville is that their power play units just never seem to make a lot of sense.
so frustrating.
So it's just I think they're a safe fade. They're kind of like Minnesota to me, where I love most of their defensemen, Yossi in particular, but the forwards just never inspire much confidence in me, especially on larger slates where you have tons of options at every price point. They just don't seem to be a priority for me.
Yeah, I can see that.
All right, then why don't we just move on? I'm fine with that game not being one of our favorites and go to Colorado Edmonton. I think this is a game where I'm definitely, if I'm not gonna try to get like Kucherov, I think McDavid again. I mean, I know this is really going back because he just had a hat trick against Colorado, but I still think he's in a really nice spot here, and he has 69 points in the year. So I mean, we have to keep that in mind when we're making our decision. It's a 6 over under. Edmonton's slightly favored. What are our thoughts on this game?
Yeah, so there's definitely merit to both sides here. Like I'm not gonna poo-poo McDavid or McKinnon, obviously, but I've really, I just think that I've fallen much harder for the other top end players here than I am these in particular plays. Like Edmonton is just such a mess right now.
Yeah, pretty
like,
frustrating, man.
You never know who to stack McDavid with. It's just tough. They're not generating much of anything unless McDavid's doing it all by himself. So
Patrick Maroon did miss practice today. Well, yesterday when you're listening to this. So we don't know if Maroon will play or not. That probably
could be traded.
Yeah, right. You would assume Draisaitl, McDavid, Kajula if that did happen, but I don't know because they just don't want to put them together, even though they think they've learned Draisaitl can't carry a second line. All right. Yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this point other than if McDavid's with Draisaitl, like it's considered.
On on Tuesday night, they played the Bruins. The Oilers did. The Bergeron, Marchand, Pasternak line was 85% possession.
Wow.
Pasternak literally allowed less than 5 shot attempts while he was out there.
Yeah, oh my god, stupid Boston, right, Jimmy?
Yeah, no, because Qdobin won and he only scored like 4 points.
Yeah, they don't know how to. Yeah, I'm glad I ended up fading Edmonton. I know I was talking to Matt and I was like almost gonna get a Clefbaum McDavid second, and I was like, it's just too much. It's just too much, and I ended up fading it. And I mean, it didn't really help me in the grand scheme of things, but
yeah, so, I think it's McDavid one off or nothing.
I can dig that. If you follow me on Twitter, you know my rant about the Colorado Vancouver game the other night. Just peak goalie, peak hockey at its finest. You play a goalie who has like even the Hockey Viz predictions with all of the injuries on the Colorado back end had Vancouver as like the biggest favorite on the night. I didn't buy it all that much, but when Nielsen was so cheap, anyways. They go 1 for 6 killing penalties. Vancouver does. Like, it's just all random at that point. Like, they did fine at 5-on-5. Like, so that's just the beast of hockey. Like, you can play teams that have no 5-on-5 projection, and if the whistle, if the refs decide to blow the whistle a lot in a game, and from there it's just kind of a mess. So I'm not all that sold on Colorado here. Despite the huge outbursts last game, just because they're not really. Obviously they're Colorado, but also they're not doing much at 5-on-5 that really inspires me, even with McKinnon back now.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough because they're really good on the power play, but it's hard to rely on the power play.
Yeah, because the second you make plays based on power play, they get, they turn into Columbus Blue Jackets and they get one power play opportunity, and you go, wow, I just wasted my time. So
and tons of salary.
And yeah, I mean, you're not getting discounts on Rantanen or Landeskog either. So
how do you get 5 goals only on the power play? That's absurd. That's just.
I ran the. Go for it.
Didn't the Islanders do that earlier?
Yeah, they did it 4 on the same power play.
Oh wow!
Yeah, no, that was it. Yeah, it was like at the end of the. Wasn't it late in the game?
Yeah, it was late in the third of the.
And that was when Barzal had like 2 or 3 points on that. With 5 total, but they had 3 points on that. Okay, but Matt, what were you gonna say about something about 5-on-5 or something?
I was gonna say something, and I kind of got
Colorado. Well, they were not rated that highly on your
right. They're not.
Ever.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll think of it, but
okay,
I'm ready to move on.
Okay. Wait, so anything else? We're good. We've talked about this game probably long enough. Why don't we move on over to Calgary, Arizona? I think the top name on this game is going to be Dougie Hamilton. I don't think anyone's going to argue with me on that. So, Matt, I'll send it to you. Any thoughts initially here?
Yeah, Arizona is, Arizona. I honestly don't think on this slate, though, that Arizona is a team that I'm, dying to stack against. Calgary doesn't really strike me as there's no great values that I'm seeing. If Arizona is not as bad as their record is, like I will go on the record and say that. Like I think they're a bad hockey team for sure, but I think when they're playing at home against a Calgary team that is playing a game 22 hours after their game in Vegas tonight, so it's not an easy game by any means for Calgary. I'm pretty much set on even fading Dougie Hamilton, who is a boss, just because that $600 difference between where he was this weekend and where he is now. I just think that money is very valuable, and that some of the guys in the low fives are just as good of plays that open up a little bit more cap at the other positions.
Jimmy, any thoughts?
No, I totally agree. I've actually, in the last 2 weeks, stopped targeting Arizona when they're at home because they're actually better defensively at home. So
they're just fine. Yeah, like they're fine. And I just don't think it's worth it, like to target the Flames on a road back-to-back, literally playing a game that drops the puck 22 and a half hours after puck drop on Wednesday night. Like that's, it's a minor thing, but I think it's also something to consider.
Agree.
Oh, that's a very good point, Matt. I'm fine with it. I don't mind Dougie Hamilton. I don't mind getting a little bit of that power play 1 exposure through him and Tkachuk, but yeah, overall, I don't know if I'll have it or not, but I don't mind that stack. Other than that, it's not really interesting for me. So we can move on to the last game. Yeah, game, Dallas at LA. Another game that I'm not too high on. I don't know. I'm just kind of like here nor there on it, I guess I would say. Like, I just don't think I'd pay up for Dallas 1 in this matchup, and I'm definitely not really looking to touch LA. Like.
Are we locking in Dion Phaneuf?
Well, he's not going to stop scoring. I mean, that's his new thing, right? Like he only scores goals now.
Yeah, he is the power play wizard.
Yeah. No, I mean you lock him in, Matt. You let me know how it goes tomorrow. But
oh man,
yeah,
I can't wait to see his ownership.
Why? I don't understand. I don't understand hockey teams. Like they do these things, and I'm like, well, I don't know. He only got 18 minutes. Power play. What do we call it? Power play. It's gotta be 2, right? It's gotta be 2.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm absolutely not playing him. I know you're joking, but I don't want to even put that next to my brand as a joke.
Okay.
Gotta keep the brand strong. Anything on Dallas though? I mean, we can.
One more guy. Dustin Brown. He has moved from like the bottom 6 back up to a line with Kopitar. They were kind of moving some things around. If he stays there, they were on a pretty tough road trip, and Dustin Brown is actually really productive. His price has been around the 5K mark now for a while. I think you can play that. I think especially as a one-off, he makes a bit more sense than a guy like Killorn for the reasons I was mentioning earlier. I still prefer a couple names. Definitely the Islanders guys we touched on are kind of close to him. But I think Dustin Brown's worth considering just because he plays a pretty significant role at 5-on-5 power play, killing penalties, and his shot rate's not the worst for 5,000.
Yeah. So anyone else in this game, Jimmy, overall that you're considering, or do you feel like you've already kind of covered the guys that you're mostly targeting?
Pretty much. What's your guys' thoughts on Mitchell? He's 3K for a one-off.
He has the same last name as me.
Yeah, and he's been scoring goals. He scored two goals.
Two in a row. Two in a row. I mean, no
power play time. I don't know.
That's the only thing. He just doesn't get power play time.
11 minutes. Yeah. Okay, never mind.
It's okay. I'm honestly every time someone like that pops up, I always kind of take a look at it. But he's with Pearson and Kempe. It's not the worst line in the world, but I just don't like. I just don't like LA's lines in general. I don't like two anchors playing alongside it Toffoli. And I don't get it. Put Toffoli back with Kempe and Pearson, demote Mitchell back to a third or fourth line role. I don't get why they don't do this stuff. I don't know why I'm not the coach. I guess
or just play Toffoli of Kopitar and Brown, but I don't know.
Kopitar and Brown have a ton of minutes too. They have what?
So many.
12 more minutes last game than any other forward.
Yeah, they skate with Toffoli, they skate with Pearson from time to time, but it's not consistent enough for my liking.
Yeah, so I mean, Brown and Kopitar are a stack worth maybe taking one look at, but I'm not going to have it. I honestly wouldn't even hate the idea of I don't know. I can't say it. I was going to say letting in, but I don't even think I could stomach it. I feel like he's going to see a good amount of shots. He's been okay this year at 7K, but I don't really like playing goalies on the road. I mean, I do it sometimes, but it's not my favorite thing.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm not gonna complain about it for sure.
Goalies are dumb. All right, so are we ready to do our two favorite stacks? We try to keep one kind of cheap, one expensive. We'll let the guest go first if he wants to. He can pick any stack from the whole slate. So, Jimmy, do you have a stack in mind?
Yeah, I think I like I'm gonna go with Barkov, Trocheck, Dandanov, and Yandel.
Love it.
The 4-man jam. Matt, would you prefer to go second?
I'll take Tavares Lee Bailey. I love jumping on. I love jumping on places where the prices were really high, and people still played them from time to time, but then their prices plummet, and I don't think anyone's going to play them going against Toronto. So the more I look at the slate, the more I think that those prices are very reasonable, and there's massive upside there, even if Freddie Anderson has done his best interpretation of a brick wall for the past month.
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty spicy right there. I mean, do you honestly think, I know this is going a little bit away from where we're going, but the Islanders' prices drop more because of how good Anderson has played lately? Why would they go down more? It's does DraftKings not take into account 6.5 over-unders that much? I feel like I've always tried to figure out how they price players slate to slate, and I don't get it.
That is an exercise in driving yourself insane.
I know that. I know it's not.
You might as well take a nail gun and just drill it into your head if you try and do that for FanDuel, though, because, oh my God, FanDuel. But, all right.
No, I'm just saying, do you think that they drop more because of Anderson's recent play? Is that something that actually factors in?
Could be. So honest, I guess kind of an interesting tidbit. I know we're running kind of long, but I actually had a phone interview for an internship with DraftKings maybe a couple summers ago now. And on the phone interview, I was talking to them, and I was so I'm interested to learn what the algorithm is for pricing. And at least at the time that the person interviewing me told me that there was no algorithm. It was literally people sitting in a room discussing it for each player. That they had metrics that they would look at and stuff like that, but it wasn't automated. And I was really? You're a multi-billion-dollar company at this point, but okay.
I know, right? Yeah, let me see your algorithm. Oh, we don't use those.
And maybe they were lying to me. I don't know, but I found that really interesting and something I still remember to this day.
Okay, so I'll take my top stack and I'll just keep it simple with the Kucherov, Point, Killorn, or Kucherov, Point, Hedman, or
solid.
Now. Yeah, I'll just go with that. So do I get the first cheap stack too?
If you want it, go for it.
All right. I don't know how cheap this is. It's a bit cheaper, but Patrick Voracek Gostisbehere. I'm a big fan of that one as well.
Yeah, you took mine.
Oh, I know you mentioned it earlier, and I was like, that's pretty hot. Jimmy, actually, Matt, I guess in theory should go second here.
Jimmy, you can, if you're ready with one, you can take it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like too many cheaper lines. I think besides the Philly 2, I think I might go Detroit 2, Larkin and AA and something like that.
Are you saying the Sabres are bad?
I'm
Get off this podcast.
Why are you kidding me?
No, I just think that they got. I mean, there's not many cheap stacks I like, and you already took the one I like. So,
for some context, I calculated the probability of Vancouver as a 70% penalty kill team going 1 for 6 on the penalty kill. There was a better chance the Sabres make the playoffs this season than that happening on a given night. It was crazy.
Yes, that's crazy.
Okay, Matt, last one when you're ready.
All right. Yeah, I don't love it, but I'm gonna go with some cheaper New Jersey guys. I think there's some decent value there with Zacha. I don't think stacking them is a bit of a tough sell, but like Zacha, Hischier, even Vatanen a little bit. I think they're all mildly interesting. Just getting anyone with Taylor Hall is incredible. I think so. I like their prices.
Guaranteed goals. Try to keep it under 12K. Jimmy, you'll go first again when you're ready. I know, like, we don't have these always planned, so I will vamp for a second here.
I'm going to go Dadonov. Give me Dadonov.
Oh, Matt, I didn't know your name was Jimmy now.
It is. I'm sorry.
What's the salary?
12, both combined under 12.
Oh, wow. Okay, you go ahead, I think.
All right. Well, yeah, we try to keep them away from our stacks. Matt, who did you say again with your guy? Dadonov? With one of your guys?
No, that wasn't one of mine. That was that was my goal. But Jimmy said Florida as his stack.
Oh no, it doesn't matter. No, we can say from other people's stacks.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say you can't just like take all the good stacks and be like, oh no, but actually none of them. All right, so I'll actually follow the guideline of taking from someone else's stack, and I'm gonna go with Josh Bailey. And that leaves me with what? A lot.
Wait. Go Andersley over Josh Bailey. For guaranteed goals.
You're right. You know what? You're right. You're absolutely right. Why would I do that to myself? I feel like it's
the same thing.
I feel like I'm just looking at it and thinking like who might get more DraftKings points tomorrow, and I'd probably. You know what? I'll go. You're right.
I think that's just if you're deciding between one
greatly at goal. No, you're right. Like if you're going for a goal, it should be Lee, and that would leave me with what, like 6, 7?
Yeah, something like that.
Then I'll take. Wow, it's kind of thin.
I'm ready with mine.
Right, Trocheck. Yeah, Trocheck. I'll go Trocheck.
Jimmy, you got yours?
Yeah, I'll go Landeskog scores a power play goal.
Oh my god, just for the ultimate tilt.
Yep.
Call.
All right. I'm going Brayden Point back to that well. I think he's just a really good player. Ottawa, they're a thing. So Brayden Point for me.
And my second, I'm gonna go with Patches.
Yes,
Ooh.
Dude. I honestly like Patches more than I think most people do tomorrow. Like I'm really digging that. Like I just feel like everyone I think if you're gonna take a one-off from that game, that I think Patches is obviously the best, but also the cheaper guys aren't bad. Okay, well we can probably close the show. We're not too far off from our winner from February, considering it's a short month. So I'll be keeping an eye on that. I'm actually going to be away all next week, so it's probably my last podcast until the 5th or 6th. Because I am on spring break, I'm going to Florida, and I'm going to watch Tampa Bay beat Buffalo. So it's really exciting times. Jimmy, thanks for coming on. Is there anything you want to say before we let you go?
No, thanks for having me. Make sure you guys join the group me. It's lit in there.
Well, first off, wait, before we let you go, are you ever going to download the GroupMe app?
Oh my gosh, really? I need to, right?
I don't understand how you could do that. like I enjoy looking through it, like, and if because like I like to see like I have this many messages. Like if I mute it completely, I don't think you see that. So I like to make sure I can like get to see everything quick. But like getting every individual text, I would lose my mind.
Yeah, that's some like psychopathic shit right
I'm like,
there.
wouldn't the pictures show up like differently? Like I can't imagine. I send a lot of images in there because like also if you're in the group me, like we send a lot of different things that me and Matt use on the side. You know, some hockey viz pictures and stuff to keep in mind, some tweets, and then some of Matt's 10 game script. So like there's other things in there, other tools that we use.
No, it opens it up. I can still click on it and open it up.
Oh, like the picture, yeah, but you just download the app. Oh my god, we have to you need to figure out computers. I'm sorry, it's game time.
Right.
Matt, is there anything you want to say before we go?
I don't think so. I'll be around over the next week, so I'll cobble something together.
Maybe Doug.
Yeah, maybe that. Maybe some. Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, I mean,
but-
yeah. And then lastly, go USA, buy Canada, and go Bonaventure. Okay.
All right. Thank you for coming on, Jimmy. This was great. Apologies for the struggles you had actually joining us to begin with, but hopefully it was worth your while, and hopefully it was worth it for the listeners too. So we will close the show right there. From Doug, from DJ, from Jimmy, and from myself, have a good slate, everybody, and we will see ya.